Hello there everybody. So this is a change of pace from my usual video, but it's something I need to get off my chest. The care system failed me, and here is why. As some of you may or may not know, I grew up in care. I got put in care at the age of 7. Now I don't remember much of my life. The first 18 years of my life is non-existent, aside from a handful of memories. And I can probably count the number of positive memories on just one hand. It's not really that great as an adult to not remember much of your life, to be honest. Anyway, part 1, new faces. Now, as a kid, the least that you expect is probably, good home, probably stable life, and, probably to be taught right from wrong. The issue is that does not happen in care, specifically in foster care. There are probably good workers out there, but I know that a lot of kids face the same struggles that I did as a kid. And this is, you know, as a kid, and even like now as an adult, I did actions, but I didn't know why I did it. And I do need to be waiting. I am waiting to be tested for ADHD, but it's very, very noticeable that I have it. And 5 minutes in the room, anyone can actually tell that. However, due to my lack of stability and people that actually cared about me, I was never actually tested for that. I did get tested for autism at a famous place in the UK known as CAMS. Problem is, they're famously bad at diagnosing people. So, all I got told that I have is social issues. When that's definitely not the case. I may not have autism, but come on. I, I very clearly have ADHD. Um, I also have an uncommon thing called aphantasia, which basically means I can't visualize images in my head. So all that's in my head is words, essentially. I don't know if that actually played a part in this, but I do know ADHD specifically did play a part in this. Well, no, I'm gonna go into detail about this anyway now, but I just do actions on impulse essentially. So when I were asked why I did something, I it wasn't me being stupid. It was because I genuinely didn't know. As I actually wrote this part of the script, I started tearing up because I know this specific foster carer, and I was constantly asked why I did things, and I genuinely didn't know. And it actually got to the point that I started having to lie just to have them hear what I thought that they wanted to hear, not because I actually knew why I did it, because I didn't. I was reacting on impulse. After 3 foster carers and countless social workers causing care, the good ones are promoted, but then that leaves kids with the countless bad ones because there are a lot of bad social workers out there. Um, that I can actually give an example of one and this is actually a true thing that happened. Essentially, I had a social worker that showed up late to a meeting about me and then also decided to fall asleep during that meeting. The thing is, people don't want to deal with a problem child, so Tilla were moved to a care home and then a semi-independent care home, and then I would move back to my mum. And I had 3 foster carers before that, so that's 3 foster carers, care home, semi-independent home, and then back to my mum. The only reason I'm a decent person is because when I finally got internet at the care home, I could finally learn right from wrong. There are many kids with the same experience as me, and a lot of kids are actually now coming out about their experiences in care, and hopefully that is enough to make a change. So I'll say this not once now, and I'll say it throughout the video, but if you're a social worker, if you're a foster carer, if you know a social worker, if you know a foster carer, share this video with them, because they need to understand what care actually is causing, and it's only becoming apparent now just how bad it is when so many adults are coming out with these experiences. As the lack of stability hurts. As a kid, you're constantly left feeling betrayed. So again, if social services sees this, promoting people is good. Let them know how valuable they are when they do care about their kids. But please stop taking them from that kid that has bonded to them. The kids in the system are betrayed enough by everybody without having the people whose job it is to actually care doing the same thing as everybody else. If you're a foster carer out there, please, if a kid is saying, I don't know more than the average kid, then get them tested, preferably not at the god awful place known as camps. Because as an adult, it's exhausting. I'm having to wait years just to get the help that I should have had as a kid. How long am I expected to wait just to finally get help? Just to endlessly struggle through life because every moment of my childhood is filled with bad thoughts and I couldn't get diagnosed as a kid. Learn the signs, notice them, and can probably prevent the same struggles that I now face as an adult in the 100,000 odd other kids that are in the care system. Part 2. Overprotective. Care as a government has to protect kids, and that is understandable, but when you take it too far, it is bad, and that's what the care system does. I wasn't allowed internet till I moved into a care home. I moved in there when I was about 15, I believe, and that sounds fine on the surface, but it's not. It actually poses a huge risk to children. I didn't get to explore the internet naturally. To put it into perspective here, I was well into high school, year 10 to be exact. 4 out of 5 years as I moved into care shortly after my 15th birthday, which fell on the holidays before the next year of school. This alienated me in high school. I will admit I was attempted on the internet a few times and I did a few things that on the surface were bad. Bearing in mind, it wasn't until I got full access to the internet after I moved into the care home and I made a certain set of friends, which are very close to my heart, that I did finally learn right from wrong. They never taught me, they just took the internet away again. For example, stuff like looking up Stickman Violent Game. Now that sounds bad on the surface. In reality, I just wanted to play Stickman fighting games, like the old school browser games, like the stuff you'd find on Congregate. But nope, internet disabled at that point. I had to physically watch their nieces, their nephews, play on their computers, playing World of Warcraft and all of this, and I wasn't even allowed to watch them. That's how bad my experience was. I wasn't even allowed to watch them. They barely hung out with me because, you know, I'll admit I did a lot of acting out of frustration and anger and my ADHD. But, they just, yeah, sorry. This put me in a lot of situations though where my lack of knowledge did actually pose a risk. I did have a phone once. Uh, Also, this is a stupid thing that happened because of my lack of knowledge, and I do feel bad about it. Before I say this, you know, um, I was given a phone and never had like a updated phone before them. The only phone I'd had before this was a flip phone. This weird little things. Um, it. I figured out that turning on data, gave me access to the internet. It wasn't credited to data, so this racks up a £200 bill for them. Again, I do feel bad for that. But how the heck are you not meant to know this stuff if you're not taught it? Like I was never even told how any of that stuff worked. I had a worker in high school, I forget what they actually call them, but as a kid, you're forced to have them. And this is a great way to alienate kids more. If I brought in sweets, she would literally force me to walk around with her and give those sweets to random people. Because in her head, she had this great theory where I'd use sweets to buy friends. Just to be clear, I did not. I liked sweets, I was nice, and I gave sweets to people, not because I wanted to buy friends, but just because I wanted to be nice. How sick and twisted do you have to be to put a kid in that situation? You know why I have the social ability right now of probably a 4-year-old kid? Prime example right there. Because why not make a kid who's going through puberty, already has that relentless bullying, and alienated enough, and has no friends, give sweets they bought to random goddamn strangers. There was this other time, and I will say this, after so long of stuff like that happening, I did have a sick thought. I never acted on it, just to be clear here. And I would never harm anyone unless in self-defense. But in this particular instance, my anger had method is to bottle it up, and then I finally snap after being pushed around by the same person for too long. She was at the top of the stairs, and I did want to push her. Do I sound like a psycho? Yeah, but I was so fed up. Basically, I found my credit card because I wasn't given it or even allowed to use it, and had figured out the pin. I think it was on a note or something. I was in something. I was intelligent just because I didn't know right from wrong. I was underestimated there. That day I had a bag of sweets with me, like a big bag of sweets, because I'd bought quite a few. Some drawing books, I think some different pens, and a cheap phone. She took everything from me, but the colours and the 2 drawing books, and I was never given that stuff back. So I think because of my bottled anger, my undiagnosed ADHD, which is an absolute bad combination, I think that's why I did have the thought in that moment. But I'm very, very glad I was not arrested before I could teach myself right from wrong. And now look at me, I'm one of the few people that can genuinely say that they're a good person and not have that BS nice person attitude. And I'm very glad I didn't act in that situation because that would have been very, very bad for me. And I would probably have not ended up the person I am today if I had have done that. But there was other time and I had essay done against me, and obviously you know that abbreviation. I don't really need to go into detail there, just to keep YouTube happy. And that happened to me before high school. Now this could have been avoided if, say, someone had have taught me that if someone asked you want to learn sex education and then proceeds to take you into a bush, you probably shouldn't fucking follow them. But no one bothered to teach me that. And yet, still, somehow, after that situation, when they couldn't find evidence, I was the one that was treated like I was bad. And I wasn't even allowed to leave anything but the garden for months on end, just because of that situation. I was the villain in that story, apparently. That, of course, caused me to start to sneak out, which, just to be clear here, is a lot more unsafe. Because when a kid is constantly kept and treated like a prisoner, then they're going to start to rebel. And unless you literally lock them under house and key, they're going to find ways to get their freedom. Overprotecting children does not work. They will ultimately figure things out, and as a result, that can lead to much worse situations, such as mine, that can easily be avoided if protecting kids meant that more to care system than stopping a kid have a childhood as a means to protect them. Part 3. Care homes. Care homes are literally the worst. There's a thing that the fun thing that they have, which is they can't restrain kids, which is fun because I'm perfectly sure that when a kid is pinning another kid to the floor and shoving lettuce in their face, or a kid is dragging a kid literally around the carpeted floor to the point that their top is rising up and they're getting carpet burns, and I'm perfectly sure that going, stop it, holds so much damn value in that situation. In a care home, it's essentially a situation as you join in or you face endless suffering. And even if you do join in on a bad day, it can still be directed at you. Don't let Tracy Beaker paint it in a good light, because granted, some of it is pretty true to what care homes are like. It's considerably less friendship and a few more restrictions. But, however, I will say this. For what it's worth, the care home did more to me, better for me, than when foster care did. I was allowed freedom, and sure I had a curfew, and there was this one particular instance. I went camping with some friends that I met on Prince's Trust. Stayed out the night even though they told me they would have to report me missing. And there was this other time I was drinking with them and was reported to him missing. And due to a situation of one of the couples and the police being called, I did get taken back home. And the third time where I was staying at my friend, and he ironically enough became family, because the day after we became friends, we found out my mum and his uncle was dating. As a result of a situation where he had to be taken into foster care, And I also, in the same instance, got taken back to the care home because I was reported missing, and I was meant to stay there anyway. Because his dad basically had a spat with police then, essentially. Um, but yeah, those are three situations, but the police typically don't do anything unless they have a reason to be around you, essentially. Um, I did actually see that kid a year later, when I got moved out of the care home because of the situation, and I was actually in his foster home that he got moved into temporarily for a few days, and he looked really good. And it's really good to see that as an example of a time that care has actually done better for a person. Um, I do wish that I could have stayed there, but that was never really an option. I know there are care homes much worse than the one I ended up in, and thought it's worth calling the police is a bit dramatic, especially when said kid calls you, so you know for a fact that they haven't run away. And please teach the damn workers restraining, because saying stop it in situations of violence is absolutely useless. As a result, people like me feeling the need to end themselves because they were trapped. And thank God he had those certain online friends by that point, because I probably wouldn't be alive today talking to you about this. So, honestly, truly, if any of them are watching this, thank you, because you're the only reason I am the way I am today, and the only reason I can genuinely say I'm alive. I love you guys. Outro. So that's that. It's all out of the bag. Look, we cannot keep doing this. There are so many kids in care now. Unless we give them a true chance to have some more resemblance of normality, it's going to leave more and more adults who are stuck in god awful situations as an adult. Thank you for watching, everyone, or listening. I hope this was informative, or it helps someone out there. If you liked, feel free to subscribe. I have two more ideas for videos in this style about two more topics. So if interested, feel free to comment below. Like or dislike if, well, you don't need me to explain that. And finally, I hope that you all have an amazing day. I hope that you all stay safe. And this has been me, Serene Generation. And I am out, yo. Peace.